Miriam Makeba called Aloha Continua. For me, this song was written many years, many decades ago. But for me, I feel that it is still relevant today in the sense that we're still fighting for the liberation of Africa economically. We're still fighting to eradicate poverty in Africa. And we're still fighting for prosperity for all Africans. Please just allow me 1 minute. Thank you. My people, my people, open your eyes and answer the phone. Ready more, ready more. Samara Mashe, Samara Mashe, Suna. Maputo, Maputo, all of the brave, our nation will soon be as one. Ready more, ready. Samara Mashe, Samara Mashe, as one. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, fellow Africans. I would just like to end it there. The reason, the reason this song is so appealing to me is because it says the second sentence, it says answer the call of the drum. So I'd like to turn it to say answer the call of the time. So in introducing our theme today, it speaks to the call of the time where we are today. What is the call of the time? The call of the time is basically to fight towards the continental prosperity, right? And now to and what is the time of the call of to prosperity is to answer the simple questions that we have, and I would like to call upon our first speaker for today to speak on the theme that we have. And we have about 2 or 3 questions for the speaker. And that speaker is none other than Letitia Shija. Please apologize. My apologies if I mispronounce anyone's name. Miss Letitia Shija is a passionate development expert currently pursuing a Bachelor of Arts in Community Development Studies with a deep commitment to social change. She focuses on grassroots empowerment, youth leadership, and sustainable development. Letitia has been actively engaged in various community initiatives where she supports projects that foster education, gender equality, and economic resilience among vulnerable populations. Her academic and field experiences have shaped her into a visionary advocate for inclusive development, particularly among youth and marginalized groups. She believes in the power of community driven solutions and is dedicated to creating spaces where young people can innovate, lead, and thrive. Ms. Letitia, my first question to you for today, which speaks to the theme that we have with his youth ownership, innovation, and the path to continental prosperity. What does it truly mean for youth to own Africa's development economically, socially, and politically? That's the question. I would like to repeat that. What does it mean? What does it truly mean for youth to own Africa's development economically, socially, and politically? Please come in, ma'am, with that response to the question. Thank you.
Okay, good evening to you all. I hope you guys are getting me so well. May I get the response if you guys are, if you can hear me by the show of hands?
Yes, we can. We can hear you.
Oh, thank you. So, as Anel has explained. My good name is Leticia Shivia from Tanzania. And here in Tanzania, we say habari za jioni. So I would directly go to the question that you asked. What does it truly mean for youth to own Africa's development economically, socially, and politically? So for you to truly own Africans' development economically, socially, and politically, this means they must actively participate, influence, and lead in shaping the continent. So basically, in this question, we have three parts. We have the economic side, the social side, and political side. As for me, for youth to truly to truly own Africa in terms of economic or economically, youth should engage in entrepreneurship and innovation. They must take initiatives in creating business startups and technology that solves African problems and creates jobs. As we know, jobs in many of the African countries has been a very critical challenge to most of youth. So by doing the entrepreneurships and the innovations initiatives, it will help this youth to truly own Africa in terms of economically. And so the socialist side, youth should also engage in community leadership. They should take lead in addressing social issues, for example, health, education, and climate change. Particularly as you heard the introduction from Anele Mngese about who I am. So I'm an aspiring leader. I'm not given any position in leadership, either being in my country or elsewhere, but I take the lead to lead other youth, to lead other people in making change. So youth should also engage in that, in community leadership in terms of society. And last but not least, politically, youth should be the influence in policy making, engaging themselves in political debates, organizing movement using platforms that we have, the social medias, so as to influence decision making. So by doing this, generally, to own Africans' development, youth must shift their perception of being beneficiaries, and rather they should be the drivers of change. And this requires agencies, access, and action, a commitment to not only imagining a better Africa, but building it through leadership, innovation, and solidarity. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Miss Letitia, for that answer. That was quite that was quite a comprehensive answer that addresses all the subcategories of the question that we put to you, to say economically, socially, and politically, and you've addressed that so eloquently. I was very impressed with the way you spoke about leading socially, in the sense that they a lot of us as young people, we want to wait to be appointed leaders instead of looking for an opportunity to lead, because leadership is not a title. Leadership is taking an initiative to do something, especially when you're mentioning about your community where you are, because there's a lot that can be done in our communities, including making people aware of what government programs, for example, or what are the ways to get our leadership to listen to what we would like as communities. Thank you so much for that answer. Now, I'd like to move to the next question for you before we move to the next speaker. The other question that I have for you is, what barriers still prevent youth from leading or scaling their ideas, and how can they be overcome? What barriers still prevent youth from leading or scaling their ideas, and how can they be overcome? Thank you.
Anel, okay, directly answering your question, what are the barriers that still prevent youth from leading or scaling their ideas and how they can overcome? So the first barrier is lack of mentorship and experience. Youths may have a lot of innovation ideas, but they lack guidance to turn them into scalable ventures. We have, when we engage ourselves in communities, we engage with youth who have different ideas, different good ideas, but they lack the guidance. They lack the mentorship and experiences so that they can foster the ideas that they have into reality. So this is the barrier that prevents youth from leading or scaling the ideas. And the other barrier is limited network and exposure, and mostly in youths who are in rural areas. They are disconnected from good and potential platforms that showcase their work. For example, attending the conferences, you know, many youths from rural areas aren't getting these opportunities to explore and to engage, to network, and to showcase their potentials. So it is only done for particularly youths who are in urban areas, and we forget those who are in the rural areas. So they should be there should be a way to make all youths from different areas, urban and rural areas, to get the network and exposure so that they can showcase their potentials. But also the last barrier as for today is limited access to funding and capital due to bureaucracy and so many other factors. Most youth lack collateral credit history to access loans, grants, and seeding funds to make their projects work. So how to overcome the barriers is, as for youths, we should seek for mentorship and coaching. Maybe you find yourself, or maybe you are in a community and you see a certain group of people, or maybe an individual youth having ideas, having a big idea of doing something that is more innovative. You help that person to at least get a mentor who will help him or her to showcase his or her potential. But also building a network and collaborate. As I said, the major problem here is for youth who are in rural areas. So they should, the government and the policies should also be adjusted. So as this youth from rural areas can also benefit and can also be in the same line as how the youth from urban areas are benefiting. But also invest in skills. Youth should take their time, should spend more, or should spend much of their time in gaining skills through webinars like this, through workshops and development programs that are done daily in different countries across Africa. So this will help them to gain skills that they need so that they can be in a position to compete with the current world. So this is all for me. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Miss Letitia, for that well articulated answer on the question that we had in terms of what barriers are preventing youth from really taking advantage of the opportunities that are in front of them. I would like to just point out one of the answers that you gave, which was limited access to funding. And actually, I wanted to also um, speak about the limited exposure that you spoke about. About 3 weeks back, I was at an engagement, and what came out is the main challenges that we have as the youth or the young people is limited access to information. And that speaks to exposure that a lot of us or a lot of young people don't know what to do, which doors they need to knock on. And I think We really need to solve that as Africans. And something that speaks to that, that is limiting us, one of the things that I've found is that even in our media reach to the people as we are speaking about in terms of rural areas, what gets to those people, it's actually radios and a limited television, right? But what you find in these radio stations that we listen to, it with a lot of information that we're getting from there is not positive things. They would speak about crime, they would speak about corruption, they would speak about the bad weather. They're not speaking to an African dream that was spoken about in America in the 70s and the 80s. And a lot of the young people in America took advantage of that. They were motivated by the American dream. The same thing that is happening in China, where they're speaking about the Chinese 40-year or 30-year plan. Everyone knows that in China. But when it comes to Africa, at least for me, what I've seen is that we don't have that exposure to information which you are speaking about. If we can reposition our radio stations to speak about entrepreneurship, to speak about innovation, to encourage it, that can help us a lot. Thank you so much for that eloquent answer to this question. And now I'd like to introduce the next speaker that is going to speak on the other questions that we have that also speak to the theme. And that speaker is none other than Willems Kiwelu, and he is the vice president of XGS Tanzania, and his profession is electrical and electronic engineer, right? And the short bio of Mr. Williams Kiwelu is he's a professional electrical and electronics engineer with a diverse background in leadership, environmental advocacy, political insight, and theological understanding. He currently serves as the vice president of SNAN Greeners Systems. My apologies if I pronounce anything incorrectly. In Tanzania, where he plays a key role in steering the national agenda on clean energy, youth innovation, and sustainable environmental development. Willems holds a strong foundation in technical engineering and has complemented it with leadership training, political engagement, and religious education, enabling him to lead with wisdom, balance, and vision. Over the past 3 years, he has gained hands on experience in project implementation, policy influence, and youth. Mr. Kiwelu, my question, sir, to you, also, which speaks also on the theme, is the following. How can initiatives like the African Continental Free Trade Agreement and the Pan African movements empower youth to collaborate across borders? How can initiatives like the African Continental Free Trade Agreement and Pan African movement empower youth to collaborate across borders? Thank you, sir. Um, Mr. Kiwelu? Sorry. Mr. Kiwelu? Is someone able perhaps to reach out to Mr. Kiwelu? Um, someone able to reach out to Mr. Kiwelu perhaps? I like this question here. I really like this question.
Hello,
Um, yes, sir. Yes, thank you. Thank you. Come in.
hello, hello,
Were you able to hear my question?
hello, hello.
Yes, we can hear you on our side. Maybe, yeah, maybe cut your video to enable
Yeah,
you to get a better reception.
okay.
You're able to hear my question, right? Or should I repeat the question to you?
Hello.
Hi, yes, we can hear you.
My name is Williams Walter Kiwelu. Hello.
Yes, we can hear you, sir.
Hello.
Continue.
Good evening, my fellows. Good evening, my fellows.
Yes, Mr. Kiwelu, we can hear you. Please continue.
About my question, I said that how can initiative like Africa continent free trading area and Pan-Africanist movement employ youth and collaborate across the boundary? About this, it was how big initiative and the movement can help young people.
We're really struggling with connection. Yes, Mr. Kiwelu, we can hear you. I think you've muted yourself. Um, I- Mr. Kiwelu? Okay. I think I would like to perhaps, in the interest of time, I would like to pose this question to us in the audience here, because we're having connectivity issues with Mr. Kiwelu. Is anyone able to perhaps to comment on this question here? How can initiatives like the African Continental Free Trade Agreement and Pan-African Movement empower youth to collaborate across borders? Is anyone would like to take this question, perhaps? In order for us to keep things moving. Connectivity is proving to be a big issue in Africa, and that's one of the challenges we need to overcome. Hello?
Okay, sure. Mr. Anele, could you just rephrase the question?
Thank you, Mr. Munene. The question is, how can initiatives like the African Free Trade Agreement and Pan-African movements empower youth to collaborate across borders? I think this speaks to increasing the intra-African trade as well. Yes.
Sure. I think that's really key, a very key concern, especially to the many young people that we have in the continent. And just to bring one perspective that I have come across, and I've also really participated in, is what we usually call the Africa Ribaticon. Is just a gathering of the young people where they engage in conversations of what is really the Africa Free Trade Area, the AFCTA, and how do we really come up or take what is there and ensure that we can be able to incorporate it in all that we are doing, and then come up with some of the solutions that can be able to be given not only to the government by the young people. What can we do as a young people? A case study last year, we had a gathering of young people on the Africa Free Trade Area in Kenya, Nairobi in March. And the questions there in regards to the Africa Free Trade Area, you can really see how the young people are really passionate in regards to why do we usually have the taxes in our government, and how do these taxes really help us as a government or as a people of this certain country, and how is this contributing to the all of our continent? And some of the major steps that we can be able to see, like what the East Africa community is doing by ensuring that all goods that are going within that block are free in regards to the sales duty or they are duty free, or also what SADC is actually SADC is also coming up so well, and I'm loving the momentum in what the new the current some of the current president are doing, the likes of Boko. So we really need as young people not only to watch from afar, but come in and see what is in this Africa free trade area, and then see, is it really working for us as a people of a continent? And as a young people, how can we be able to contribute? If it's not working, then what can work so that we ensure that this vision is coming through the Africa Agenda 2063, which is part of it? How can we be able to make it work better? So I think that's some of the initiatives that the young people can take, not only saying that this is how things should work, but instead getting into that, knowing what is happening there, and then what needs to happen then can be able to happen. I think that is Mr. Anele.
Thank you, Mr. Munene, for that eloquent answer. Thank you so much. Yeah. That's definitely the African Continental Free Trade Agreement is one of um, the initiatives by the African Union, but is empowering us as Africans to trade amongst each other. And as you eloquently put, that we need to take advantage of this. We need to be asking the right questions. We need to get involved in organizations that are pushing for this to be implemented. I think it's very important. I think it would start also, if I may err on this question, I think it starts in our regional um, organizations that we have. We have the SADC, we have the East African community. We've got the West African community and North African community and the Central African community. Those regions need to be working together. It starts there, and we need to be monitoring this, and we need to be making noise, especially as the young people, and. And I would just like now to move on to the next question. Thank you so much, Mr. Munene, for that answer. Mr. Kiwelu, if you can hear me, I see you've unmuted yourself. The question that comes to you now is, what kind of mindset shift is needed among youth to fully embrace the responsibility of building the Africa they want to see? What kind of mindset shift is needed among youth to fully embrace the responsibility of building the Africa they want to see? Because this is the Africa we will embrace. Most of the African leaders that are in the AU, 2063, a lot of them will not be there by just natural way of things. But us, as the young people now, chances are we'll be there. We need to be taking responsibility right now to build the Africa that we want to see. So what kind of mindset shift do you think is needed, Mr. Kiwelu?
What kind of mindset is the innovation and the skills to change the African culture or African traditional knowledge? About my question, how to initiate like the African continental free trade area and Pan-African movement employing youth and the collaboration across the boundary. This is a agreement to make trade easy between African countries.
Sorry,
This
Mr.
question,
Kiwelu. Sorry, Mr.
yeah,
Kiwelu. We've gone to question number 5 now, where we're saying what kind of mindset shift is needed amongst youth to fully embrace the responsibility of building the Africa we want to see.
the
Yes.
the mindset shift means the change in a way young people think about this question. What is the new way of thinking young people need to adapt so they can try to take the hard job of the creation and the kind of African dreams. It's about moving from the possible, waiting for others to act, to actively believe they can they can be only building the better future for Africa. The mind involves the thinking more proactive, being more resilient and adapting the spirit of collaboration and innovation. Yeah, in a mindset is not to change the way of young people thinking about the tradition of African culture from the people that have already controls that the system that is the African about the innovation and the skill to change the mindset of young people like that.
Thank you, Mr. Kiwelu. Mr. Mshanga, you would like to add on this question, please coming through, sir.
Thank you so much, Mr. Anele, and thank you everyone who is in that room this evening discussing these crucial matters concerning about African development in general. Mr. Anele, I was really interested on the question you asked about the mindset shifting for liberation of African economy, and I would like myself to add a few views from my own perspectives, and I think by starting what kind of mindset we need to shift as young people, as the engine for the African transformation phase, one thing we need is to have that kind of mentality, which we tend to rely mostly on dependence. So to cut it short, I would like to say we must change from dependence mindset to ownership in mindset. It means that we have to own our development processes within the continent, taking initiative in community development, looking for solution, rather relying solely on Western countries. Though we are campaigning for global partnership for development, but we as an African, we must change that attitude. We must own our problems, and we must be there ready anytime looking for solution. This also will enable us to embracing even entrepreneurship and innovation as a tool for transformation in Africa. That's number one. Number two, shifting from scarcity thinking to abundance mindset. And when I speak about abundance mindset, it's not like it's not more rhetorical or theoretical thing. Africa is rich of resources, and it is well known. Africa is pregnant of natural resources which have not even been used. So why, if you ask why Africa is poor, the question is, we think that we Africans, we got few. There is scarcity in Africa. That's why we continue exporting our natural resources in a raw material, going to global markets. Then that product being made in that countries, they brought back in Africa, buying from. For example, if you ask, why are we importing chocolate from abroad while we are a good producer of cocoa in Africa, like West Africa? We get no answer. We must change that. We must recognize the continent's vast resources, including human capital, cultural resources, and natural resources we have. We must see challenges as opportunities to create value. Also, we must cultivate the spirit of optimism and long-term vision, even in the face of adversity. And that's why Mr. Magufuli, the late Mr. Magufuli, was really insisting on human capital development in Africa. Like, why are we giving like those construction contracts to foreign companies? And once those foreign companies they are here in Africa, you'll never find local people being given the high positions. So for how long this will continue? If you Africans they are denied their right even to take a high managerial position in that foreign companies in Africa, how do we going to learn such skills? How are we going to adopt such skills? That's few to me. That's few to I can contribute to Mr. Anele. If you have another time, we can give another chance. I can proceed, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Mshanga. I think you've spoken about something about this mindset shift. I think this is the biggest question that we have in the podcast today. It is the biggest question because this mindset shift is needed. I'm seeing the same thing that you're referring to here in South Africa, that a lot of young people are what we call now keyboard heroes, in the sense that their activity ends by tweeting, by posting something. There's no activity that is physical where people are going outside, they're speaking to their communities, they're voicing out their frustrations such that the government can hear, such that they can change the government. And I've just done a little bit of a research now to ask myself, what are the youngest democratically elected leaders in the world? Because I've just read yesterday that earlier this week, a 33-year-old was elected as the mayor of New York. 33-year-old. In Africa, it's very rare for us to find that. For example, the youngest president is Ibrahim Traore, but he was not democratically elected, right? But if you look at a democratically elected youngest leader, there's the youngest in Africa is 45 years old. But around the world, the youngest is 37 years old, who is the president of Ecuador. He was democratically elected. But you can see the kind of work that Ibrahim Traore is doing. It speaks to what Mr. Mshanga has just said about our natural resources. He said when he got in that nothing, the exporting of our raw minerals will stop. And do you know what has happened? Just last week, President Trump is boasting throughout the whole world that the mineral resources of DRC are going to benefit America. This thing is still continuing whilst we are here as young people, and we know it's very bad for us. And speaking to your question about why chocolate is still coming from Europe specifically to Africa, but cocoa is being agriculturally produced in countries like Western African countries like Ghana and a lot of those African countries. Right now, it's only because a huge consumption of chocolate is happening in Europe because they have the buying power for it. But there's nothing stopping those African countries that are producing cocoa to start producing chocolate, even if in its small scale, and start exporting it to other African countries. Because the beauty about the products that we have all over the world, they are in different segments. There's products for the lower segment that can afford, let's say, $1. Right? There's that other middle segment, people that can afford $5 worth of chocolate. Then there's other people that can afford $10 worth of chocolate. We can start at $1 and move ourselves to $5. But there's nothing stopping us as African countries. Mr. Munene, you would like to come in on this question. Critical question. May I add my view? Yes, Mr. Munene, please come in. Think, yes. Sir.
Thank you so much,
Thanks so
Mr.
much,
Anele and Mr. Florian as well. This is very, very key. I think, as you've said, Mr. Anele, is the key question of the day about Africans for Africans and how we as a continent, especially the young people, can be able to have a mind shift in regards to developing Africa better, and just reflecting from pre-colonial and post-colonial, when many of our founding fathers were really up on liberating and searching for political freedom. And the key thing was, can we be able to get our own political leadership, and then we can be able to keep up on economic freedom. And that was the shift that then we really needed to be able to govern ourselves and to govern our country and our nations. But now, why are we really here? What really changed that we still are fighting? Like you've said, like you've pointed out the issue on DLC minerals. We, as our young people, we have really to be able to see what's really happened, and that is actually being reflected in what we're seeing. The many young people, like you've pointed out, in South Africa, what we have seen also coming up in Tanzania, and now that what's happening here in Kenya, what has also begun happening in Cameroon, the young people really mobilizing through the social medias that they have, and without being mobilized by any other key leader, but by themselves coming up and saying, "We know what we want. You know, we've been subjected to these um, political mindset that we as a country to prosper, we have to be anchored to somewhere in the Western foreign or the foreign powers to be able to succeed." But the young people are saying, we know we can be able to do this. The cocoa that is suffering, or the cocoa that we are producing and selling out as raw material and then coming back as processed good, we can be able to make those factories here. We're seeing Aliko Dogote Lily investing in his own country. Like we've seen, Troll is also doing gold refinery industry in his own country. So it means then all these resources are here, all these financial resources that we also need are here, and then we can be able to do this. And the young people, as they are coming up really so well, they need not to go back anytime soon. I should be the fire that is coming up, and the fire should be, we must liberate holistically, all round, without leaving anything behind. Because now is like we're going back to political liberation again, because we've been taken back by our fathers into what our forefathers were fighting against. And then that has led us to some economic shackles. And that way, we as a young people who are rising up to knowing where we need to see our continent at a better place, then we can be able to say we're finally getting somewhere. We're finally getting somewhere. And like you said, the young people, the young leaders who are being given the opportunities, they are doing it spectacularly. And that should be the move going forward. And I believe we'll be able to get somewhere by knowing this is what we want, and we'll be able to be able to get there. And also focusing on the transformational leadership, we can be able to get somewhere. Thank you. Thank you. Back to you, Mr. Anele.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Munene. Colleagues, is there anyone else perhaps that would like to comment on this question? I think it's a big question, and I wouldn't like to leave anyone out that would like to contribute to this question here. Is there anyone else perhaps that would like to speak to this question?
Yes, Mr. Anele, thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you so much. Comrades, as we all know that Africa is addicted to aid. And for the past 60 years, it has been fed aid everywhere. Aid everywhere. Our mindset has been has been created in such a way that we believe that without be given some aid from abroad, we cannot even be able to solve our own problems. We cannot solve our own problems. So this addiction, like any other addiction, I think it needs a solution right now. And a solution is, number one, every young people must cultivate the spirit of Pan-Africanism. Instead of being a sycophants to some of the political leaders in Africa, just continue that corruptive regime because you are being given some bribery or some amount of money without realizing that you are creating a generation problem, even a problem to third generation from you. We are not moving as young people. And this has been everywhere across Africa. If you go to Kenya, you'll find some few young people who have been choosing to be a sycophants. In Tanzania, the same problem. Sycophants. They cannot even say, they cannot even stand in front of people and tell the truth, rather than trying to manipulate and spreading propaganda because they think that they'll get something, but in reality, they are not getting something. If they are like waiting for a kind of election, maybe, or an appointment, at the end of the day, they end up being even not holding such positions. But already they have already engaged into spreading the propagandas. We as young people, we must stand and say enough is enough. Where truth must be spoken, it must be spoken. We don't need to call a spade or to attack nationalist movements in Africa by spreading a kind of propaganda to kill that movement. That's what I can add. Another thing I can add, for Africa to change, we must investly solid on defending our natural resources. I see a kind of trend coming into Africa. Like they are coming in Africa in so many ways. Someone might come in your country then saying that, you're just owning ports and airports and the mining sectors, but because you have less skilled people in that sectors, please, we need to invest here so that we can capitalize fully the presence of that resources. For how long then? If you ask me for how long the Africa will continue saying that we cannot operate this, we cannot operate this, we don't have that skills, we don't have that skilled people, we don't have that professionals. For how long then? It's like a father having a family, then you bring another one in your family, and you just telling him like, you have to come here, you have to do what my son was supposed to do because my son, he cannot deliver, he cannot do that. So what do you expect at the end of the day? Will you, is that a big solution? It's not a big solution. So we must change that attitude. Thank you, Anele.
Thank you, Mr. Mshanga. Thank you so much for that question. And we really need to get up as young people and start making enough noise. What's currently happening in Kenya, even though some people have died, I think revolutions start like this. When the government is not listening to the people need to make the government listen. And this past week I saw a video of an 86-year-old lawmaker by the name of Moses Ali in Uganda. He was re-elected at 86 years old, right? And looking at this, you see young people, they're also voting, they're endorsing him. He's 86. I mean, it's not being ageist to say it's time to retire. It's time to see your grandkids. It's time to sit. Let the young people get up and start working. These are the challenges that we're sitting with, and they will be solved by us, by no one else but us. Um, comrades, I think that was quite an insightful engagement. And I think we've come towards the end of the session. I think we're supposed to have a session for an hour, and now it's at about 6 o'clock South African Standard Time or Central African Time, and about 5 o'clock in Western African Time, and 7 o'clock in East African Time. I think we've come towards the end of our session today. I think it was quite an insightful session. And I think it's up to us now to actually go back to our communities and start engaging young people, making them excited, motivating them to get up because they do want they want to do something. A lot of them want to do something, but they don't know where to start. People like us who are voicing our solution, we are voicing out the solutions that we have for the challenges that we have, all of us here. It's up to us to actually tell them this is what you can do. And I think one of my main visions that I'm seeing for YALF as an organization is we need to, unless this is already happening and I'm not aware, I think we need to start a African Union parliamentary uh, parliament for young people because that is the only way for us to actually put pressure on our leaders that we currently have to say do something about these projects. The Inga Dam project needs to move. It can't stay in a document as a concept. The ground needs to be broken. That needs to start uh, being constructed by Africans such that it can give power to a lot of the central region. Because without power, we're not going anywhere. Without water, we're not going anywhere. So we need to start saying these things. That's one of my missions, unless it's currently happening, which is great. But I think the voice then needs to get louder and louder. I think we've come to the end of our session. Is there anything else perhaps that has not been said? I think we are all in agreement in terms of the answers we had to our questions today, with the pertinent one being we need the mindset shift. We need a mindset shift. We need to take the bull by its horns. It's not going to be easy for these elderly leaders to give us the reins. So we need to find a way to persuade them. If they can't be persuaded, we need to find a way to let go of those reins and we can take over because we know the kind of future that we want and we can build it. We have the solutions. We can coordinate and we can get things done. Is there anything else perhaps that is not yet covered or any question or comment? I don't want to leave anyone without any, without giving them an opportunity. This is the opportunity for anyone to speak now, and then we can close the session and then we can see each other in the next episode.
Thank you so much, Mr. Anele. I think that was very key and that was so good for today. And I think there's keep on opening our eyes as young people of this continent, and we can be able to keep up going more and more and saying it is Africans for Africans, and we can be able to develop ourselves. So many people have done that when Americans met many years ago in Philadelphia. They were able to come up with the United States of America. And we as a young people of this continent, we have learned from the failures of our forefathers, what they did in 1950s and 1963s. It is a lesson. Yes, that's a good lesson for us, and it's also a stepping stone for us to keep on going and building even more stronger and stronger and saying, yes, it can be done and it will be done. And it is very possible and we will do it. And we have no option. We must do it. I think that's the thing. Nothing else. It is a must for us that we are existing in this moment and we should do it because it is possible and it has been done and we can do it.
Thank you so
And
much, Mr. Munene. Thank you so much. Colleagues, yeah, I'd like to thank everyone for availing themselves this afternoon, and we had such engagements. It's very difficult to start, colleagues. It's very difficult to start, but once you've started, then you can start improving, and the more you improve, the more you encourage other people to join you in fulfilling the mission that we have. Our mission is to leave Africa better than we found it, and that's it. We leave it better than we found it. If it currently now has 800 terawatts per hour, when by the time we leave it, if it's at 2000, we've done our job. Right now, if poverty is at 20%, by the time we leave it, it's at 5%. We've done something. Thank you so much, colleagues. We'll see each other in the next episode. Thank you, everyone. And